Notre première invitée, je cède la parole à Madame Amanda Jette Knox, qui est ici pour nous faire part de son expérience. Amanda is an award-winning Canadian writer, human rights advocate, public speaker, and mother of 4. Over the last 4 years, she has become a passionate voice for LGBTQ2+ rights, pushing for the creation of protective laws, safer spaces, and educating society about issues currently facing the community. Her work has been featured by several national and international media outlets, including CBC, The Globe and Mail, Upworthy, and The Guardian UK. She has shared her message of love and acceptance all over the country, from working with the UN Human Rights Campaign in Montreal to taking the stage at We Day in Vancouver. J'inviterai sur la scène Madame Amanda. Now, Amanda will speak. We also have a short video from her, and it will be followed by a question-answer period. So get your question as she speaks. If you have questions, take them down, and we'll give you the floor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having me today. You're a big crowd. My name is Amanda. My pronouns are she and her. I am here on behalf of the United Way Ottawa, who asked me to come in today, tell you a little bit about Path to Pride, and tell you why it is so important. What I do for a living, all day, every day, is fight against transphobia, homophobia, and biphobia. This is my job. I am an advocate. I did not necessarily choose to be an advocate, but I saw an opportunity, I saw a need, and that's what I decided to do. And it all started with goings on in my own family. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about that today. If you had asked me about 4.5 years ago to describe my family, I would have told you that we were a mom and a dad and 3 boys. That is what we looked like. That is what I thought we were. I love typicality. I'm not a big fan of change, or at least I wasn't until more recently when I learned to embrace it. I really liked blending in. I was closeted for a lot of my life. A lot of people did not know my sexual orientation, and I hid it even from myself for a very long time. And so I was severely bullied for other reasons. I was even set on fire in front of my high school. The scars stayed for a really long time. And so for a really long time, I just tried to blend. So that meant getting married, having kids, and I loved that life. I really did, and I still love that life today. But it wasn't very authentic for any of us. Our journey to authenticity started with an email from a very brave child. So our middle child was really struggling, and we didn't know why. There was depression, there was anxiety, there was a refusal to go to school, a hard time making friends, angry, anxious outbursts regularly that took over our household. And we did everything we could to try and help. We sought therapy, we saw doctors, we tried changes in routine, changes to parenting. Nothing really helped. One day, I took the 2 younger kids out to get pink shirts for Pink Shirt Day at school, which is an initiative to end homophobia and transphobia-based bullying. And of course, I did this last minute because that's what I'm like. It was about 2 hours before the stores closed, so we're running around and we're trying to find shirts. And our middle one is just sort of quietly following along, but our younger one, he's very sassy. He's like, I don't understand why we don't have any pink shirts. Why are there no pink shirts in the boys department? And I was like, you're right, buddy. Why are there no pink shirts in the boys department? It was 2014. Pink was not a big thing back then in the boys department. We did manage to find shirts, and over that time, I explained to the kids that really, shouldn't we just be able to wear what we want, and pink is just a color, and all these gender stereotypes don't really make sense. And I felt like a really good mom to our youngest. I really felt like I was helping him. And I didn't realize at the time that I was helping our middle child. So a couple of hours later, we're at home, and we get an email. And my spouse comes in with the phone and hands it to me and says, "You really need to read this right now." So this is in the language of an 11-year-old child. So please remember that this is how it was described by a child. But it said, "I have something to tell you. Please try to understand. Please don't be angry. I am a girl trapped in a boy's body. And more than anything, I need to be a girl. That's who I am. I'm so scared to tell you. I don't want you to hate me. Please love me." It was the most heartbreaking email. And I know today that, this idea of being trapped in the wrong body is not necessarily the right fit for a lot of trans individuals, but at the time, that's how an 11-year-old was explaining it to us. And it helped me understand this is what was going on with our child, that she wasn't a boy, that when she was born, the doctors took a look at her physical body and said, "That's a boy." And so we said, "Okay." And we gave her a boy's name, and we raised her as a boy, and it never, ever fit her, and she didn't have the words to describe that. So then puberty started to hit, and everything felt all wrong. She was going in the wrong direction, and it was just killing her inside. So my spouse said, "What do you want to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know anything about this. I mean, this is all new to me. How about we start with going in and telling our child that we love her, because we do, no matter what." So we went into her room, and we found her under the covers, shaking like a leaf and sobbing. And we just got in, one on both sides of her, and we hugged her, and we said, "It's going to be okay. We're going to figure this out." So the first thing I did was check in with Dr. Google, as a lot of us do. And I did not like what I found, because what I found was that trans kids are at really high risk of self-harm, of depression, of anxiety, of being bullied, of being assaulted, of all sorts of things. And it terrified me, not that she was trans, but because of how the world would treat her because she is. And it's like a fire just lit inside me. And I said, no way. So I have a blog, and I've had a blog for about 10 years. Actually, no, closer to 12 now. Wow, getting old. And I've always just sort of told stories of my family and sort of tongue-in-cheek, fun mom stuff. With many discussions with her and my partner and our kids, the rest of our kids, we decided that I would use that blog to show a positive example of what it looks like for a family to affirm and believe and support their trans child. So that's what we did. I really just thought, a few hundred people will read this, great. It was a madhouse. We were one of the first families in Canada to be very open about this. We were one of few families in the world at the time to be really positive and affirming to our child openly, and we became a bit of an example for that. I started working with media, doing a lot of that sort of thing, and so did Alexis. That is the name she chose. We went through a number of names that I won't get into. 11-year-olds probably need a little bit of help picking their names. Alexis is a lovely name. So, everything was going great for about a year and a half. We were settling in. Things were fantastic. One day, I was, my partner was miserable. Well, my partner was miserable. We've been together for a very long time now, 25 years. Always a miserable person in a lot of ways. Tried very hard to be happy, was having a really tough time with that. One day, I said, that's it, we're going out on a date and I'm gonna find out what's wrong. I found out what's wrong. I pushed and I asked a lot of questions. I didn't want to know necessarily the answers to those questions, but I really wanted to know what was going on. So I said, look, You just got to tell me, why are you so unhappy? Is it us? Is it me? Is it the kids? Is it the life we have? And the answer was no. No, it's not. This predates you and the kids. I was like, oh, it's deeper. Okay, all right, we're going to go there. All right, I said, so are you gay? And the answer was, no, I'm not attracted to men. I'm like, okay, that was a very interesting answer. Okay, all right. So I don't know why I asked. I guess I just asked because it was something that had come up in our family before, but I said, are you a woman? And the car was dead silent. And I was like, wow, is this actually happening again? This is happening again. That's not actually what I said. I said something much more colorful I won't say here today. I did not necessarily handle the news very well at first, I'll be honest. It was a bit of a shock after 22 years together. But we worked through it. Not only did we work through it, but at the end of it, I ended up with a very beautiful, smart, funny, engaged, amazing wife. Her name is Zoe. She's my everything. And one of the things that I discovered through that as well was that I am a lesbian. I've always known. I was never really happy when I thought I was married to a man. But it's just, I grew up in a time when that just wasn't something. I mean, especially when you're trying to fit in, it was a lot harder. It's not like it didn't happen, but it was a lot harder. And so I had a friend for a long time that I just happened to be having kids with. I felt more like that, and now I feel like we're a couple. And she's so perfect for me. And so we're all more authentic today because of this amazing girl who came out to us at 11 years old. It's changed our whole lives. So that news came out on the blog eventually, and that just catapulted it to a whole new level. We're not the only family with 2 trans people in it. There are a number of families, actually. We don't necessarily get a lot of kindness from certain people because of it, but that's okay. Our family, our friends, the vast majority of people I talk to are all really supportive because, hey, we're just all trying to be ourselves. Isn't that a beautiful life when you can just be yourself? We renewed our vows last August for our 20th wedding anniversary, and Zoe got to wear the dress she always wanted to, and I got to kiss my beautiful wife at the altar. Our eldest, who is 21 now, was the one to say, officiate. He was a baby at our first wedding, so that was really fun. All the kids were involved. And because of all the love that we have as a family, we were able to start the process of adopting our daughter's best friend. So we now have another 15-year-old living in the house with us. So we now have an 11-year-old, 2 15-year-old girls, and a 21-year-old who just moved out, which is fantastic. So we are an amazing family, amazing family of 6. It's really expensive, by the way. There's a lot more to our story, but really I want to talk to you about United Way and the amazing organizations it supports. I'm going to take a couple of minutes to do that before I introduce our video. The United Way has taken a real interest in LGBTQ2+ issues, which is fantastic for families like mine. Alexis attended 10 Oaks the first year she came out. That was a tough year. She was really being bullied at school. We had to pull her out for a while, and she was able to go to a camp for a week for LGBTQ2+ children and families who have children who may or may not be members of the community. And nobody questioned her. She could just have this safe, wonderful environment. So Camp 10 Oaks, I would say, really did something special for her and does special things for kids all over the place like her. The other organization that United Way proudly supports through Path to Pride is Family Services Ottawa's Around the Rainbow program. After Alexis came out, Around the Rainbow was just about to launch its first support group for parents of trans and gender diverse kids. And we were fortunate to get in on the ground level of that, and I've been going fairly religiously ever since. It's a wonderful support group, and they do all sorts of things as well for families, queer families, and gender diverse kids and teens, and just LGBTQ2 plus kids and teens in general. They really support families like mine. So when you give to United Way's Path to Pride, you are helping families like mine. And when we are new to this and when we are vulnerable and struggling, and not all families have the same support systems that we do, that my family does, we're very fortunate, we're very privileged in that sense, you could very well be saving a life. And that is so important. You're giving a teen a chance to grow up and do something special. You're giving a family a chance to feel like a typical family, rather than maybe an outcast family in other situations, and that is wonderful. So a couple of years ago, United Way came to our house and they filmed our family and our path to Pride. So I'd like to show you that video. Après ça, je peux répondre à des questions. Mon français est pas très bon, mais je peux essayer s'il y a des questions en français, et sinon, je vais me débrouiller. Je vais me débrouiller ou je vais répondre en anglais. Alors, merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Here is our video, and enjoy the rest of this event.
Today, we would have 2 moms, a girl, and 2 boys. Our family has not always been this way. In February of 2014, our middle child sent us an email and said, I am a girl trapped in a boy's body, and more than anything, I need to be a girl. That was the start of big changes in our life.
I feel like I was living a lie for 11 years of my life, and that was really, really hard for me because I just wanted to be myself. I felt a sense of relief when it was over, and I knew that they were going to be okay when they came in and hugged me and said, we love you no matter what.
Just about a year ago, my spouse of 22 years at the time told me that she is also a woman.
When I saw Alexis's email, it really was this spark that dredged up a lot of stuff that I'd had very deeply buried and had intended to keep there. But as I saw her, start to get support from the community and how much acceptance there was and the resources that were out there, it became impossible for me not to do it. My biggest fear was that I was going to lose everything.
I felt like my whole life had been turned upside down, and I didn't know what the future was going to look like. I had to walk through my fear. I had to walk through my sense of betrayal. And I had to come to terms with the idea that I would be very comfortable in a same-sex marriage. Would I be happy there? And my children's happiness was really important too. And so I knew that if there was any way that I could make this work, I needed to make it work.
For 18 years, as of last summer, I had a father and a mother. And to suddenly realize that everything I knew was going to change was a very big shock. It was jarring.
I was confused, I understood. I had this mix of feelings. If I was feeling down, Amanda was around. She was just kind of there for me if I needed to talk to someone.
Before, oftentimes I had difficulty having a conversation with my sister or my mama because they were just dealing with so much that they couldn't tell us. After that, it's like the floodgates have opened. We can just talk about anything for hours.
I think when somebody transitions, a whole family transitions with them. And everyone sort of had this collective sigh of relief, right? Where it was like, oh, this feels better. This feels more real. This feels more honest. And this feels happier. The advice I would have for someone who's just been told that a loved one is transgender is to be supportive. Learn everything you can, reach out to resources in the community, and also honor your own feelings, because if you don't honor your own feelings, you're not going to be able to support their feelings. Our family's path to pride is that the names and pronouns have changed, but the love has stayed the same.
c'est une histoire très, très inspirante. J'espère que beaucoup de familles pourront s'en inspirer pour s'épanouir. Alors, on va passer à la période de questions. Je vais demander à Amanda de revenir sur l'estrade. Vous avez un micro dans la salle. J'ai également un micro en main. Donc, si vous êtes coincé dans les fauteuils, ce n'est pas un prétexte pour ne pas poser de questions. So, we have maybe about 5-minute, 8-minute period, question period. You know how that goes, right? You all work at the house. So, does anyone would like to ask Amanda a question? It's supposed to work, yes.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
How do you think your family's story would have played out differently if your partner had transitioned first? Would it have been an impact?
A huge impact. It would have had my family's journey would have been very different. I think with children, there's an unconditional love. And so, I mean, we hope anyway, it doesn't work out in every family that way, unfortunately, which is part of what I'm working to change. But ultimately, when it's your child, I mean, you just love them no matter what. So I had to learn a lot. And more importantly, I had to unlearn a lot. Because a lot of us grew up with a lot of internalized transphobia that we don't even realize that we have. Through the movies we watch, the TV shows, the jokes, the ideas, the old outdated ideas of trans people. And so I spent a good year and a half unlearning a lot of that and learning a lot of positive things and real things, facts, and talking to the trans community. And so I don't know if I would have done that if it had been my spouse first. I mean, maybe, but if I'm being completely honest, I think Alexis paved the way to us remaining an intact and happy family.
Hi, quick question. Who is your support system, and or support network, and what did they do to help you through that transition?
Okay, yes. So I'm really fortunate that I have a lot of good friends. And Zoe didn't really make a lot of close friends back then, but a lot of my friends were essentially hers. And so we did lose some people when Alexis came out. That, you know, a lot of people don't understand the concept of, you know, if you're trans, you're trans from a very young age. You may not realize it until later, but that doesn't change it. And so we did lose a few people. Overall, we kept the people that we have, and our entire family was supportive, right down to our vow renewal, where our dads walked us down the aisle and our moms gave speeches that made us all cry, and it was lovely. I have a list, and I've encouraged my family members to do the same thing. I have a list of people whose opinions really matter, and so when I'm having a really bad day, and especially back then when I was having a bad day, I would reach out to those specific people, my best friend, you know, my mom, people like that, and shut the rest of the world off. I think we all did that quite a bit, and that really helped us.
One more? I have one. Oh, no, go ahead.
It's okay. Thank you, Amanda. You alluded to people being unkind. So I'm wondering about any stigma or discrimination that your family may have encountered, if any, if you could share a bit more about that.
Yes. So I should start obviously by saying my family has a lot of privilege. I mean, we're a middle-class family, educated, live in the suburbs, you know, and already had a good support network around us, and I think that helped a lot. I'm very aware of that. I think that online is particularly bad. I've had a couple of death threats. I've had to file reports about those. I've had a number of really unkind things said about me and my family members. In terms of everyday stuff, we're not seeing as much. I think we live inside our little bubble right now, but we did deal with issues at the school initially. The school was not completely on board after Alexis came out. You know, we had a couple of neighbors who I believe went out of their way to misgender my family members, which essentially means calling them by the pronouns that that they are not. So if they're saying, I am a woman and my pronouns are she, her, and they go on and say him and your husband and your son, despite being corrected, I think that that's aggressive and that's not okay. Overall, I think we've been it's mostly online. Our lives have been pretty good.
Again, thank you very much, Amanda.
Thank
I
you.
think we can